Thank you for downloading this podcast from the British Theatre Guide. For more information about British Theatre Guide, please visit britishtheatreguide.info.
Steve Orme here, the Midlands editor of the British Theatre Guide. A new tour has started of the Arthur Miller classic Death of a Salesman, which features David Hayman as the central character Willy Loman. It's presented by Trafalgar Theatre Productions and the Glasgow company Raw Material. In a moment, we'll be hearing from the director, Andy Arnold, who spoke to me from his base in Scotland. Before that, I went to Birmingham Rep to talk to David Hayman, who reveals how the show came about.
Well, Andy Arnold and I, last year we did Cypress Avenue, the wonderful David Ireland play, which Trafalgar produced. And we sold out in Glasgow and it's a huge success. And then they came to us and said, what do you want to do next? And both of us had always wanted to do an American classic. And this is the archetypal American classic. It's just the best of all. It's in a class of its own. So we put the idea to them. They loved it. They put together a finance deal for it because it's a large cast, a large crew. They're taking 20 of us around the country, all over, from Glasgow to Edinburgh, Birmingham, Dublin, Cardiff, Manchester, South End. So it's an 8-week tour. So they loved it, and that's how it came about.
Why did you want to play Willy Loman?
Well, that's a no-brainer, isn't it? It's one of the great theatrical roles ever written. And I've been lucky in my time. I've played a lot of classical leads like Hamlet. I've played twice Macbeth, King Lear, Troilus, Nijinsky, all those great roles. So, yeah, it's wonderful to be able to get my teeth into Willy Loman.
Had it been an ambition of yours to play that part?
Not particularly, because I was too busy doing other classical roles. But when we thought about doing an American classic, and I read it again, and I thought, no, we've got to do this, yeah.
How do you see Willy Loman then?
He's the central character in the story. He's a failed man. He's a salesman. Most tragedies are about kings and queens and tyrants and despots. This is a tragedy about a normal working class man who travels up and down the coast of New England selling his wares. He has to travel 400 to 700 miles a day. He comes back. He's sold nothing. He has to borrow money from his friend every week to survive. But he lives in a fantasy world. He thinks he's the greatest salesman on earth and believes that if you have a smile on your face and love in your heart, that doors will open for you and you'll be a success. He has 2 sons that he's very hard on. He's pushing his eldest son particularly. He's pushing them to be as great as he thinks they can be. But it all falls apart slowly but surely. And he's got early stages of dementia. So he's losing it. He conjures up the ghost of his dead brother. He talks to people. And then the play goes from the present day to the past and the present day into fantasy as well. So the original title of the play was Inside His Head. And that gives you a clue.
Was it difficult in any way to reach into the depths of Loman's character?
No, the difficulty was learning the lines, because there's hundreds of them. No, it's a joy to explore the depths of humanity and their behaviours and their foils and their weaknesses and their triumphs and disasters. It's a great joy, and he flips between moments of great joy to great depths of despair. No, it's just a joy to play.
One reviewer said that you do exhaustion best of all. So would you agree with that?
Well, he is exhausted. I mean, that's what he says. He said, I'm tired. I'm tired traveling anymore. I can't do it anymore. He's in his 60s, so he's losing that useful energy. And also the fact is that he's being a failure. His old colleagues have all died off. His contacts he used to have are no longer there anymore. So he's dealing with a younger crop of people who buy his wares. And they've got no respect for him whatsoever.
The director, Andy Arnold, has worked with David Hayman before and explains why he wanted this particular actor to play the role of Willy Loman.
He's a wonderful actor. I think when I talked to David Ireland about staging Cypress Avenue, I said, I really want to stage that play. And David Ireland, who lives in Glasgow, was keen for me to do it. I said, I'll only do it if I find the right person to play Eric. It's such an extraordinary part. And then David Hayman, suddenly, he came to the Tron to see a show, actually. And I thought that would be a great idea. And he did brilliantly with that. And he's just a wonderful actor. And I thought Willy Loman would be a good challenge for him. He's older than the character's meant to be, but he's got an energy to him. And he just understands the character, yeah. And I had no doubt whatsoever that he'd be a right choice for it.
So David Hayman has proved to be as good as you anticipated?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. He brings an extraordinary pathos to it. I mean, you can play the part in different ways. The very first actor to play it was Lee J. Cobb in the States, and there's a film version of that. And Lee J. Cobb is a huge, physical, powerful actor who played it in a very aggressive way, and that's quite a legitimate way of doing it. Obviously, a fine actor, but I thought David would bring a different way of playing it because of a very much of a defeated, crumpled character who is clearly on the way out, really. And David has that ability to capture that pathos, I think, and that sense of inner turmoil, and obviously he's got dementia as well. The character's no doubt about that, and I think the frailty of the character, I think it was something that David really worked on, and that's his interpretation, which I think works brilliantly. Yeah,
this is quite a big cast to take on tour, isn't it?
It's a play I've always wanted to do, but working in small subsidised theatres, you just can't. It's very rare to have the opportunity to do a play with that number of people in it. Trafalgar were a bit nervous about the size of the cast, and I said I could do it with 10 actors with a couple of people doubling up. And I thought we could make it work like that. But then they said, that's great, but because it's a long tour, we should maybe have a couple of understudies as well. So I thought, brilliant. That means I could have 12 actors, and that means all the parts can be cast. That enables to bring on a couple of people like Gillian Massey with the flute. She plays a smaller parts because I thought it'd be nice to have live music in it. And also, Faye Guifo, who plays Miss Forsyth for the violin and so on. So that was another means to stage it. Yeah.
The production is all Scottish, is that correct?
Yeah, I mean it's a Glasgow-based production basically, and that's where I've been working for the last 40 odd years. That's where I know I know the actors involved. I know them all. Some of them I've worked with over the decades. Actors like Benny Young, who played Charlie. I've worked with Benny for 30 years. They were actors who I knew are not only very strong actors who work well as an ensemble and also work together on a 9-week tour. And that company ethos, there was no need to sort of look beyond the local, acting community. There's enough. I mean, obviously, I could have gone elsewhere, but there's no need to do so. There's enough strong actors in Glasgow and the west of Scotland to choose for the characters in this play. And of course, it's a play that you don't have to try and convince anybody to be in. It's such a wonderful play. It's the type of thing that all actors want to be involved with. So I had no trouble casting it. And Glasgow's in particular has got a fabulous range of performers who were able to take this on.
Some people do know Death of a Salesman quite well. So have you reimagined the show in any way for this tour?
To be honest, I've only reimagined it in terms of making it incredibly simplistic. And what I mean by that is to focus completely on the script itself and to let the script speak. And I decided on a style of performance where literally the actors are sitting on the side of the stage and they're standing up on the stage to play the characters. It is, the subtitle to the play is a series of private conversations in 2 acts and a requiem. And that's exactly what it is. It's a series of, physically nothing really happens. It's all conversations. And it's also, even Miller himself in the directions for it talked about imaginary walls and not being, it's a dream play in many ways. So much of it is conversations reenacted inside Willy Loman's head. So I wanted to strip the whole thing back, and really it looks after itself in terms of when you've got strong actors and a strong script. It's really a question of just performing it, and it evolves very quickly. And to be honest, I've only seen one production myself. As a director, you would never want to. I personally never like to see productions of something I'm going to do myself, because you want to do your own interpretation and to serve the writer as best you can. The production I saw about 30 odd years ago with Alan Armstrong playing Willy Loman and Mark Strong played De Biff, in fact. And I remember there's a National Theatre in London, but it was a very long time ago. But I do remember that was a very stripped back piece as well. And I think there might have been a tree in it. That's what maybe gave me the idea of talking to designer about having this image of this tree in the background. But I don't think there's a need for a director to give an interpretation of something like this. In the sense that the script is so strong, you really just provide a platform for it to be delivered. And that was my intention.
So how does Andy Arnold approach a show? David Hayman again.
Andy's a great producer. When he produces a show, he works with great designers, great costume designers, lighting and sound designers, and he casts beautifully well, but then he leaves the performances up to the actors. He's not bothered with performances. He gives you the freedom to do it. And in one sense, that's great. It's a wonderful platform for us to give the performance of Willy Loman that we have in us or whatever. But yeah, I mean, it is fairly stripped back. I mean, you've got the staging is fairly simple.
It was written in 1949, yet presumably some of the themes that it talks about are just as relevant today.
Oh, they're very relevant today. I mean, anywhere in the world, failed dreams, failed expectations are common to everyone, really, wherever you are, whatever culture you're in. I mean, they performed this in Beijing, in China, and they loved it, absolutely loved it.
And Willy has fears about being unemployed. As an actor, can you empathise with that?
Yeah, of course I can. But I've been very lucky. I've never had much unemployment in my life. So, I've been very blessed. I'm kept busy.
Andy Arnold agrees that the themes of Death of a Salesman are as relevant today as they were when Arthur Miller wrote the play.
I think that's why it still resonates so much, and it resonates with ordinary people as well, because the issues in it, the issues of the fear of losing one's job, that whole, which is as relevant now as it ever was, particularly the battles between a father or a child, whether it could be a son or a daughter, that resonates as much as it ever did. I think I know that from my own personal experience and other people close to me, from battles that develop between and that need on the one hand, sort of children who decide they want nothing to do with their expectations of their parents and rebel against what they might want. At the same time, there's still a need to try and receive their appreciation, and that never leaves you. Sometimes, even into as long as your father or your mother is alive, that need that sense of conflict between, on the one hand, not reaching the parents' expectation and wanting to do something different, at the same time needing some sort of approval. I think it resonates totally with people today, and that is obviously the conflict that Biff faces. He's wanting to do something completely different from what his father wants, at the same time loving his father and not wanting to disappoint him, and that's the essence of the play, really. And that will never, just like all great theatre, whether it's Shakespeare or classics or whatever, there's things which resonate and will never cease to do so.
Dan Cahill, who plays Biff, Willy Loman's elder son, says nowadays people prioritise the wrong things in life. It's a view shared by David Hayman.
It's commercially driven. It's not about integrity and love and respect, for one another. It's a me generation. I'm old enough to know the days when we trusted doctors, we trusted police officers, we trusted teachers and politicians. Now it's not the same anymore. I mean, we don't have trust in those professionals anymore, and things seem to be crumbling round about us. And the moral fibre of the world seems to have gone out the door. The rise of Trump, the rise of the right wing, which is really, really terrifying for all of us.
The tour of Death of a Salesman started in Glasgow. David Hayman says it went down really well.
Packed houses, standing ovations every night, just as here. It's been fantastic. No, Glaswegian audiences are simply the best. They're the most appreciative anywhere I've ever known, and they let you know it. If they don't like you, they will also let you know. But no, they're wonderful to play to. I mean, I could play this for 2 months in Glasgow, and it would just be a joy.
Do you enjoy touring?
I've never toured before. Well, I tour one-man shows. I do a series of one-man shows, all different. And I tour them around Scotland because I want to take theatre to places that don't normally get theatre. So I go to the Highlands and the Islands and large theatres, small theatres, school halls and things, just to bring that experience of that wonderful visceral experience of theatre to places that don't normally get it. But this is the first kind of real proper tour I've ever done. Standing ovations in Glasgow. This is our second week. Standing ovations in Birmingham. So I expect it to continue, hopefully.
And are you enjoying Birmingham?
Well, yes, it's a huge city. It's got a great energy to it. It's a multicultural city. I've had much time to see it. unfortunately, but because we're so busy and we're doing, 9 performances or 8 performances a week or something. So that takes up your time. But it's lovely to be here. It's great. And the audiences have been fantastic.
David Hayman, who's now 77, has had a varied career. He says he's known for appearing in all sorts of shows.
People recognise me for different things. Trial and Retribution, I played the chief cop for 10 years. That's very distinctive. And I said other more recent things like Taboo, like the movies that I've done, or Still Game. There's a comedy that they do in Scotland, Still Game, and I played a cameo in that, a guest artist in that. And I was the burger van man who blew up Clydeside, and people remember me for that. I'm not care about being remembered for anything, no.
You've done film, you've done TV, you've done theatre. Do you have a preference for them, or do you just adapt to whatever you're offered?
Theatre is the best. When you're on stage, you're a performing artist. When you're in television or film, you're a professional actor. It's a completely different discipline. It's the same job, but a completely different discipline and an approach. Theatre is where you sort the men out from the boys. It's proper acting. That's proper acting. The challenges are greater. When you're doing a piece of television or film, you do one take. If you get it wrong, you can do another ad infinitum. You get it wrong on stage, and the only way to put it right is the next performance.
25 years ago, David Hayman started a charity, the humanitarian relief organisation Spirit Aid. It helps children and young people whose lives have been affected by poverty, neglect or abuse. So why did he set it up?
I think it's fairly obvious the world's going to hell on a banana skin, and it's incumbent on all of us to do what we can to make it a little better place. So that's why I have projects in Scotland, Malawi, Afghanistan, Palestine. No, it's important to get, if you're in a position to help people less fortunate than yourself, then I think it's important for us all to do it, because we live in a very selfish, self-centered world. And I think it's and particularly in the acting profession, which is a very ego-driven profession, I think it's really important to reach out beyond yourself, beyond your little bubble, and use whatever clout you have to make a difference.
Do you get enough people coming forward to volunteer and help with the charity?
Yeah, we couldn't rely on. We were all volunteers. We couldn't survive without our volunteers. But more importantly, that people are still prepared to fund it, to give me money to survive, to keep developing the projects, and that's really important, because without the money, you can't do anything.
And money is very tight these days in all walks of life.
It is, yeah. It's people have less disposable income, so it's tougher to raise money. But I think the story we tell about Spirit Aid, I think, we raised in buckets at the Pavilion Theatre in Glasgow for that first week. I think we raised about £10,000 in buckets. Now that's extraordinary. And we raised £10,000 last year during Cypress Avenue. So that's great.
The tour of Death of a Salesman goes on until May. What will Andy Arnold and David Hayman be doing after that?
At the end of next month, I'm off to Shanghai to direct 14 Chinese actors in Three Musketeers with Shanghai Repertory Theatre. A very different project altogether, with another large cast, and it'll be performed in Mandarin as well. With the Tron Theatre, I staged the world premiere, actually, of James Joyce's Ulysses, and we were invited to take it to China. And we had a successful tour there, and as a result of that, I've been invited back a few times to work with Chinese actors, which I've loved doing. So this is the next project. After that, I've no idea. This has been a very rewarding, very enjoyable project, with working with Trafalgar and with Raw Materials, developing this, and hopefully we can do other work, because particularly classic work. It's work that audiences want to go and see. Extraordinary. In Glasgow, 8,000 people came and saw 7 performances of it. I think it broke all records. But just because it's a familiar title and with a great cast, it's the type of theatre people want to see. So I like to do something again like that, certainly. Yeah.
I'm taking a holiday. I'm not thinking about anything else other than a holiday with my wife. Because, this has been in my mind for like 6 months. We've only had a month rehearsal, but, I read it every day for month after month after month. You get the rhythms in your head, you learn the lines, you begin to create the character. So it'd be lovely just to leave all that behind and go on holiday.
And nothing planned after that?
I don't have anything planned. Well, I'm going to Malawi to visit my projects, first of all, which I do every year. And hopefully, if I can get them to Palestine.
And are there any other particular roles that you'd like to perform on stage?
Maybe another American classic, maybe like an Ibsen or something. One of those great roles for elderly men. Yeah, I haven't really thought about it. Shakespeare's Prospero would be nice.
Is it quite some time since you did a Shakespeare play?
Yeah. The last one was King Lear. I played King Lear at the Glasgow Sits. That was the last Shakespeare I did.
So you obviously like to do some more.
Yeah, not burning to do it, but yeah, if that comes along, terrific. If not, I will go and sit in my mud hut in Malawi and help the community and transform it.
The tour of Death of a Salesman continues until Saturday, May the 3rd.
You've been listening to a podcast from British Theatre Guide. For more information, please visit britishtheatreguide.info.